Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and it is time for Brad and I to do our top 10 games of 2022. 2022, you know what's so weird is it almost feels like a sleeper year where there weren't like a lot of like big names, at least within the community that I'm aware of, that like the past couple years I feel have released.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, I don't know. The games that are on this list are just so incredibly solid. As we saw with our top 5 worst, like we didn't have any like polarizing or controversial games on there, like we have in years past, and I think that's large in part due to the fact that 2022 just had either pretty good to great games just in general.
Yeah. How many crossovers do you think we'll have?
One.
One, huh?
I think. Well,
I'm gonna say
two.
three.
Three?
I'll say three if you considered one of them a 2022 because it's close. It was right on the edge. So we'll see. But
okay.
Yeah, I have three on here that I think will cross.
I'm thinking two. But yeah, as always, these lists are kind of hard because some games, like I think I'm getting a few games like right at the end of this year. And it's like, like that's not fair. Like I need games to make for my end of the year list. So it's always hard to decide if that comes in. It's like, oh well, just missed the cusp, I guess, or if I can consider those for the next year.
Right.
At the end of the day, if it's showing 2022 on BGG or not, if it's like, oh man, this came out December 30th, yeah, I think I'll consider it,
Well, and then you have some of the weird ones that show, depending on where you look on BGG, like if you're doing a search for it, it says 2021. If you go to their actual page, it says 2022. It's those ones that are just right there on that edge.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. So as long as it's not blatantly the year before, then it's our list. So yeah. And some games just miss the mark. Others I've been thinking, and we'll get started here soon, but I've been thinking about having us do like a top 10 games that would have made, a top 10 list. So games that we played, like there are games that I have on my 2022 shelf of games to play that I obviously aren't on this list, but it's like, well, that could have made it, just for us to do like a catch up.
Yeah, I possibly could get there with that too. I have a bunch of stuff on my shelf I haven't played yet either.
Exactly. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with an honorable mention, my number 11, which was originally higher just a little bit until I had recently played more games that kind of pushed it out into my number 11. This game was one that I was pretty excited about whenever I'd first heard of it. And then whenever I played it, I'm like, well, there's no reason why like this shouldn't at least make somewhere near the top 10 because of basically who it's copying. The reason why it's kind of pushed down a little bit is I think the narrative is, kind of rather weak, which I know that they're going to be working on a second Kickstarter, but the gameplay is a blast. And my honorable mention is Stars of Akarios. So this one, like I was mentioning, is basically Gloomhaven in space. Like if this was designed by Isaac Childress, you would have no idea that, or like it's just so clearly inspired by Gloomhaven and Seventh Continent with its space exploration and its planet exploration. But there is an absolute shit ton in this box. Like and the way it's organized, they did a great job. Like, if I can give them any praise of something that they done better than I guess it used to be called Starlight.
I think that's what it was initially, because I've had questions about that too, but I think that's what I think it got renamed.
I almost like Starlight better.
Yeah.
Because Stars of Akarios is just such a nothing name.
Because those components are the same, right?
Yeah, that's how it looks.
Yeah.
But in terms of like board presence and insert, they did that leagues better than Gloomhaven. But yeah, so this is a game that is a massive space sci-fi campaign where you pilot a ship, and it's kind of, I mean, there's a lot that this game pulls from. So unfortunately, it's not anything that's original. But if you like Seventh Continent, if you like Gloomhaven, and if you like X-Wing, then I think you'll really like this game. The gameplay of piloting your ship and actually doing dogfighting with other AI is really fun, and you utilize a lot of your weapons, and the dice system is very interesting. Just it's so clean to jump in and play the game. So after you do like your skirmishes of completing various objectives, then it's like, okay, well, now that that's done, you're in this system, so go back to your home ship and move around that, and have encounters, story encounters, exploration, and then eventually you'll land on a planet where then you do your seventh continent exploration, where you do a bunch of story stuff that way. It's just very like succinct, very clean for a game of this magnitude. Now, like I said, they do have an app with a narrator, but it's I mean, to be completely honest, it's pretty piss poor. Like, it's not the most exciting or exhilarating story, especially when you know that there's been better writing elsewhere. It's not. It's fine. Like, that's just but the gameplay is enough to keep this up. Like, all the games that were considered, I just couldn't put above this one because it's so much like Gloomhaven in space, and it works. So it's not like, oh wow, what a cheap ripoff. Like, they tried and failed to capture the magic of Gloomhaven. They do a pretty good job. So
yeah, I need to try it sometime since I like Gloomhaven so much.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's so close to it that there's no way, if you love Gloomhaven, that you wouldn't like this. I mean, I think that's the reason why it's so high for me. Like, at least still considered for the list. And it does a really good job of doing the dog fighting and the X-Wing, and like actually like doing like barrel rolls too, because facing matters whenever you're piloting your ship. It's not just like you have always 360 field of view. You actually have to like turn around and bank and try and get in their blind spot. You have some weapons that could be like one of my current technologies is an EMP. So like I'm playing like a heavy support class, so I can like run in an EMP blast around to like deactivate enemy ships. And then the guy I'm playing with, he's like our heavy hitter who can pierce through shields, but he's super slow. So there's a lot of actual tactile decisions that you make. And the other cool thing about this, which I don't do just for the sake of the channel, but it's supposed to be played simultaneously. Like, if you're playing with 4 people, as long as you're not attacking the same ship, you can do your turn, together.
Interesting.
So very excited to see what they do for the second edition. I know that they're planning on doing some updates to, like, I don't know if it's the rule book, but definitely for the story and the writing and stuff. So I think with that, it'll become even better. So yeah, that's my honorable mention. Stars of Akarios, or formerly Starlight. That's such a better name.
Yeah.
It's not great, but it's way better than Stars of Akarios.
All right. So my honorable mention is a game that is from a publisher that I own a lot of their stuff and really enjoy a lot of their stuff. And this game does not fit the rest of their games, like as far as the style of game, the theme of the game, and all that stuff. I bought it mainly just because of who made it and because it is a unique theme. And then it turned out to be a really solid, lighter weight game that I've played a ton this year. And that is Penny Parks. And that's from Thunderworks Games. So they do all the role player stuff and role player adventures. So it was just one of those ones that kind of caught me by surprise. It's not that expensive a game, so I bought it thinking and I've played it a ton this year, teaching it to different people. and it has that interesting deal with the carousel that's out there in the middle, as a 3-dimensional, and whoever's first player can turn that carousel around to determine the pricing for all of the other attractions that are going to be around that. They're not on it on that picture, and then you buy stuff, buy the amusements or whatever to put it in your park. But when you have your little park board, there's like these little tree places on there. So you'll have these trees and you'll put those on your board. So you have to deforest a little bit to clear some forest to be able to place things down. And all the while you're doing that, because you're going to also buy additions for your park to spread it out a little bit more, but you are dealing with these emotions like the thrill track and the joy and whatever,
and depression and anxiety.
Well, but you get like bonuses for the further you go up that. So the in-game scoring is you get all these extra points. The interesting thing about this game that it took me a little bit to decide whether I liked it or not was the placement of the park stuff. Like, you could not have them adjacent at all. They had to be corner to corner. So you had to be really strategic on where you placed stuff. And then whatever you cover up, of course, you get it's kind of like the whole Baron Park thing. I was going to ask
if you thought that this was better than Baron Park. I mean, they're kind of in the same vein.
I would probably say this one is better because of the price manipulation.
Oh, okay.
Because it makes you want to get, because if you're on the track, on the thrill track with the lightning bolts, whoever's in first place there gets to choose if they keep the first player marker, I believe it is. No, it's the middle one.
Yeah, middle one is first place.
It's the first player. But you get that choice, and if you choose to be first player, then you have to move down on that track, and there's also the top track is where you can get the extra meeple to take the extra turn, because ultimately it's a worker placement, and you play it over 5 rounds. The other thing that's really cool about it is when you buy these attractions, you put the card in front of you, and then on the last phase of each round, you can actually pay money to get victory points. It's like you're advertising and stuff for it. So I hope I've played it enough now that I've you get to see all the stuff pretty much regularly. So I'm kind of hoping that it wouldn't be that difficult to put out more cards.
I think I'm very curious to see how well they did for this, because an expansion I feel is a must. Like, I definitely haven't played as much as you have, but so when I did my run through, when I first played this with you, I was like, oh, this is super solid. And I think this is a fine game. It's probably the same feelings I have towards Baron Park. Like, if someone were to ask me to play, sure, and I'd have a decently fun time. Right. When I did my run through, my private objective was to have like every type of concession stand, and that's all I bought. I had like 2 rides and then 15 concession stands, and because of that I went up on the track on every single one of them to get the extra points for being in each one of those last areas. And it felt like whenever I was up on all of those, that I don't know, it just kind of I won. And I was like, I didn't do anything. Like, I just went to that one spot every time and just kept taking concession stands. It's hilarious to be like, oh man, cool. The Storm Giant Mountain. Is that another hot dog stand? Are you kidding me? I'm like, bye. That's where I make my money, is you spending $80 on a t-shirt, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, they need to have about 4 times the amount of those in-game objective cards just to spread out. They all are, whoever has the most greens or whoever has the most blues, it's kind of,
they need to be,
thing they could definitely go on.
What would make this game way better for me, because this was actually considered for my top disappointing, is those public objective. I keep saying public. Well, they need public objectives. One, that'd be cool, but private objectives that aren't worth the same amount of points, because they're not equal. Like, it's like, hey, have the most greens. Well, these are $11-12. Like, geez. Have one of each type of ride. Well, that costs a lot of money versus just going and getting a concession stand for free every time, and they're worth the same amount of points. I feel like that would make it a little bit more polarizing of a game. But other than that, yeah, it's a solid theme park with amazing artwork. Like Vincent Dutrait artwork is
yes.
just, God, it's so good.
Yeah, because I think I've played this probably at least 15 times this year.
Ooh, yeah.
So
Jeez, I played it like 3 or 4, and I was
mhm.
like, I'm good.
Yeah, because I just teach it to people constantly.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's a good one for that.
yep.
All right, my number 10. It's just so funny with this list because it's like the first 5, so 10 through 6 are just like what you would expect kind of from my list, and then 5 through 1 definitely have a theme to them. But my number 10 is a very atmospheric worker placement game. This one definitely took me by surprise on just the sheer amount of variety that is in this. And there was a game that came out a couple years ago called Abomination Era Frankenstein that I absolutely despised. And I would say if anyone didn't like that game, definitely check this one out. Or if you did like that game, definitely check this one out because it hits those same notes, but I feel like it's an overall better game. And that is My Father's Work. This one I was very excited about just because of the for the I believe 2022 anticipated list. This one pretty sure was on there just because of the idea around it, where you are playing through generations of a mad scientist. Excuse me. Where you're just like all you have from generation to generation is like the main experiment that they like they're like dreams. So your father would be like, I want to create immortality, and that was his dream, but of course he didn't do it because you're the one making it, so he clearly died. Um, and and then any major achievements stick around, but from generation to generation, you kind of have to restart. And that sounds like it would be terrible, but it really isn't. Somehow they struck that balance of resetting. Um, and then you also do a little bit of estate building with estate upgrades that you can get, and going out and trying out all these different concoctions of experiments just to get you different resources or different upgrades, to help you eventually get to that final echelon of your your father's legacy. And on top of all of that, it's extremely narrative driven. The Village Chronicle sheet there is the worker placement spot. So depending on which scenario you pick, the one that's showing here is the cost of disease. There's a bunch of components in that box that you'll touch like 2 of them in each game, and there's a bunch in there. So the Village Chronicle is the worker placement spot where you send workers, and through the narrative game, you're making decisions, and depending on how well some people do and how well some people don't do, it will change the overall story. This one definitely takes me by surprise of just that it's a worker placement game. It's not a campaign, and it actually has like meaningful decisions about what you want to do. So this one is extremely good. The reason why it's not higher is because the narration on like the app is selective for some weird reason. Like at this point, if your game is heavily narrative driven, you need a voiceover. You need to use foreteller. You need to hire a voice actor and do your own app, because no one likes to sit there and listen to someone read, and the person reading doesn't like to sit there and read. Like it fucks up my throat. I mean, we've done Aeon's End Legacy, and I'm like, dude, my throat, I can't do this anymore.
Isn't there a recorded thing of this?
Only for very specific
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
So yeah, and that's kind of where it's weird because you'll go to like the next journal entry, and it's like you put in your name, so it'll be like, oh, Brad's journal entry, and then you'll sit there and wait and be like, is it gonna read? And you're like, oh, I guess not. And then he starts reading, and you're like, okay, I guess you're reading this time. I don't know why they went that route. I don't know if there's a rule or if there's something where it's like, hey, no, it only reads major events or something, but you don't know what a major event is.
Right.
I wish that it would have been fully narrated. I really hate it's like I go either do it all or don't do it at all, like
Yeah.
don't do this weird like flip a coin and maybe it's gonna read out. But other than that, I don't really have a whole lot of major negatives on this. I will say that if you want to see more stuff from the different boxes, you as a player do have to make different decisions. If you were to pick it, like we've done the witch hunt like multiple times, and if you're gonna play and make the same decisions, then the narrative is gonna obviously go in the same direction. You'll be like, oh, it doesn't matter what choices I make. Well, no, it does. You just got to make different decisions. So yeah, because I thought that it was pre-scripted because there's multiple endings that you can get, and I got the same ending multiple times, and I was like, but it was on my phone on one game and on my buddy's iPad on a different game, and we got the same ending, and I'm like, are these predetermined? Like, is it just depending if you pick a scenario for the first time, it's the same ending? And I went on Board Game Geek and asked, and everyone's like, nope, we got this ending, we got this ending, and someone was like, well, did you make the same decisions? I'm like, yeah, I was trying to win. He's like, well, that's why. So it makes sense. So you kind of have to play this game slightly for the narrative if you do want to see some of the stuff from the box. But man, it's a solid one.
Yeah. This the only one. The only thing about this one that is scared me off is people talk about how long the games are, and
it's
been, you know,
I can tell you how long. I can actually tell you. I'm on my channel right now. Yeah, about 2.5 hours for a 3-player game.
Okay, that's not as long. Some other people were saying it takes 3+, but I don't.
That was with the three of us. We had played before.
Gotcha. So maybe that was just early games.
Yeah, and about 2 hours. I mean, on first learn, it was Kat and I, and yeah, it took longer than we both expected. So it is a longer game, but I think it justifies it. Like, if it was about 3 hours, I'd be like, okay, you kind of need to wrap it up. But
yeah,
no, I felt like it would
read faster.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would if it was a narrator, but you have to sit there and waste 20 minutes waiting to see if he's going to read.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is a great one. Very, very awesome theme too.
All right. Well, my number 10 is a game that kind of went under the radar this year. I heard about it for the first time on one of the podcasts I listened to, and it's a Rio Grande game. Takes place in outer space. It has kind of a learning curve to it, and that is Space Station Phoenix.
I really want to try this one. This was on our list to play last time you came up, but
yeah,
never got around to it.
Well, and if I can get it back from my friend before I come up there this next week, I'll bring it up. Yeah. So anyway, in this game, it's kind of an interesting worker placement resource generation game because each person starts off with a space station and nine ships. And those ships act as action spaces that you're going to be gaining resources from. And as the game goes, it's you want to start being more efficient, and you want to start being because things start getting a little more crunchy. So you need to start dismantling some of your ships as resources, and it upgrades some resources to make them more efficient. So it's like you're at the very beginning of the game, you're going to be at the strongest you're going to be. Like so you're actually degrading throughout the game instead of building up. So it's like a reverse thing, and it just kind of is an interesting play on that, because usually you're starting with the minimum and building up to be a badass. Now you're starting as a badass and you're degrading your system down. There's a lot of moving parts in this game. It's not super complex once you learn the iconography and stuff, because there's a lot of icons and all kinds of shit all over that board. There's tons of replayability because I said you start with 9 ships, but that can be different every game. There's several ships that go. So you're starting 9 ships.
So what's your ship? I'm trying to.
The ships. The space station's the thing right here.
Okay.
And then you have these cards.
Okay.
So these will be your 9. You'll have 9 at the start of the game.
Each player does?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you degrade them as you let game goes, and you'll have less and less ships, but they'll be more and more powerful and more, and stuff too. So,
Okay.
and it reduces your amount of action spaces
Yeah.
and stuff,
I had a
So
buddy ask me, he was like, this was before this game was announced, but he was like, I wonder if there's any game where you get like weaker as the game goes on. And I'm like, I can't think of any. And
yeah,
then this one came out and I'm like, hey, by the way.
yeah, and I don't know if I would call it weaker per se. It's just you have to be more efficient.
Sure,
Like
yeah.
you have all these options in front of you, but then you're gonna have more powerful options, but less room
Mm-hmm.
to work. So it's kind of
Yeah.
an interesting deal. And this one's one that I've played it about 4 or 5 times, I think now. And I still need, there's still learning that I'm
Yeah.
doing with it because it's got a lot of stuff. I mean, I know BGG has it at like a 297 weight, so it's kind of there in the middle ish. But it's just I think that uniqueness of that gameplay of starting off at your best and then working down, that's kind of the unique thing that keeps it fresh.
Yeah, I think that's super cool.
And
Like,
Rio Grande doesn't put a ton of games out anymore, really.
not
So,
really. And this
you know,
designer, he did another game called Exodus Fleet, uh, by TMG. So basically, he has done no other game anymore because TMG doesn't exist.
right.
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, this is definitely one. This is a hole in my year. I just never got around to it. But
I'll see
yeah,
if I can get it
definitely want to
gathered.
play. I can't see any reason why I wouldn't like this game unless there's just unless I turns out I hate becoming weaker.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, this
totally something you'll have to try just to see if it's. I mean, it may be something you totally hate because I've never played a game that had that before. So,
yeah, yeah, awesome, great choice. All right, my number 9 is new to the list because I played this just the other day, and I definitely want to play it more because it's of a series that I think very highly of for most of their games, and this one has so much variety to it that it's like you can't see everything in a couple playthroughs, but man, who boy is it solid. And this is part of a new trilogy by this company and by this designer, and that is Wayfarers of the South Tigris. So first of all, let me get this out of the way. This is the best art that the Miko has done because his people you barely see. You get townsfolk cards, but when you get them, you tuck them underneath other cards so you don't have to look at them. But the rest is his scenery. And I've always said the Miko makes the most grotesque human beings, but I love his landscape. I love his you know, uh scenery, his like towns and stuff like that. So like Merchant's Cove, for example, I'm like, oh man, the whole Merchant Cove area looks super cool. But god damn, these people make me want to throw up. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. This game is a lot. There's I've been hearing a bunch of people compare this to Paladins, and that could just be because I've played Paladins a lot more, but I feel like this is one of the most complex one. At least this is the one with the most icons, for sure. And I know one great thing about Garfield Games is that he likes to reuse icons, which is
right,
awesome because if you played some, you can at least be like, oh, I know what this means, and it does mean that. However, in this one, because I went into this game expecting that, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, there might be a few more icons, but I'll understand, generally how the game works. Uh, yeah, there's like 3 reused icons, and the rest I'm like, oh my god. But honestly, it does come off as a rules heavy up front, but once you start playing, it just clicks. Like somehow Shem Phillips and company are just they're knocking it out of the park, man. Like besides, the Raiders of the North Sea games I think are fine. I've only played the one. I haven't tried the other two. Um, and out of the West Kingdom games, Architects is the one that's my least favorite. But Paladins and Viscounts are like 9, 10 out of 10 games, especially with expansions. And this game came in and man, is it super solid. This one uses a dice system and worker placement system. So you roll your dice, and you have a little caravan sheet. If you want to move your mouse, so you see that beige area on the player boards, yes, that. So that's like your caravan sheet, and that determines what icons your die values have. So if you roll like a 1, it represents either a camel, a telescope, or and also makes a provision. It makes the action cost the provision less. So that means you can use that one on a space with a camel icon. And pretty much you're using dice to do actions to get, because you're a cartographer, so you're scoping out land, space, and sea, and it's just it just clicks so well. Like your land spots are going to be more like worker placement locations. Your sea spots, I mean, also give you some worker placement spots, but they're a lot of instant abilities. And then your space stuff, like your space cards, are your victory points. So it at its core is a set collection game, but it's so good. That main board is like your research track, similar to like Lost Ruins.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's really just the way the game ends. Yeah, if you go up on it, you're going to get bonuses, but it's not like, oh, whoever gets up higher is going to win. It's and like, yeah, there's just a lot. There's a lot here. I'd have to say that out of all of the games, this is the one with the most variety, because it's all cards.
I am a little bit behind on his games because I haven't played Viscounts yet. So I've done everything up to Viscounts, and I haven't done anything since. So.
Okay. Let me. I still have our list of running games. I'll have to put Viscounts on here because you got it. I go back and forth on which one I like better between Paladins and Viscounts.
Right.
I want to say Viscounts overall. And I don't think this one has quite surpassed either Paladins or Viscounts, but it is up there, man. Like, it's super good. So the dice system, the worker placement has that Raiders of the North Sea kind of feel, where it's like the workers aren't yours. So when you play them to do actions, you place them on cards, and if people acquire those cards, then they get the worker. So if you want to load up a card to keep using the top ability, then it's like someone could be like, hey, anyone use this action to grab that card and get like 3 workers, and you're like, crap, I need some. So it's really good, really good. Jumped up onto the top 10 because yeah.
All right, well, I will talk about my number 9 really quick. It is one of I just added to the list. I just got it played. I don't think it's been released fully in the US yet, but it's a solo only game, and I'd heard a lot of talk up on it and stuff, so I decided to play somebody's copy, and that is Resist.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, I'm intrigued by this one.
Yeah, because it has some decent. I mean, it's got the designers, they do all the like Uncharted or Undaunted and all those different games like that.
Oh, it's those guys. Okay.
David Thompson is he's the Undaunted dude. But anyway, solo only. The theme of this loosely is it's in the 1930s. You are controlling. It's during the Spanish Civil War, so you're controlling some of the Spanish side, and you're going against like the I don't even know how you say it, the Francoist regime, I guess. But what it is it's not a deck building game, it's a deck deconstruction game. So you pick 12, I believe, of your resistance people, and that's what makes your deck. And then you're playing them push your luck style, trying to take out and fight your way through these encounters. And then if you use a card for its ability and flip it over, then they go out of your deck. So you're trying to last as long as you can, because at the end of each round, you need to decide if you're going to end your resistance or risk taking on another mission. So you're just trying to go as far as you can till the end. And I'm still convinced it's almost unbeatable. But I've been told it's just super difficult. You have to be super, super efficient. So, like I said, it's. I've heard it was a really difficult solo game, and I only played it twice. But I want to get when I get the opportunity to buy a copy because it's easy enough, fun enough. I mean, the game takes 20 minutes, maybe. I get well, push your luck. I mean, it could take.
That's true.
15 minutes, or it could take 45 minutes. Just depends on how far you're going. But
what's it look like?
Sorry,
there we go.
You just hit the button. So but like all the blue cards that are face down are you're going to be what you're kind of going up against, and there's the locations in the center, and then your deck is these.
Is this a more complex say bye to the villains? That's kind of what it looks like.
I don't get the same feel of that, but I've only played Say Bye once, so
I see. Okay,
and I beat it first time, by the way. So
nice. Did you play by yourself?
No, it was with four other people. So nice. I think we played 5-player. But anyway, yeah. So the art's kind of interesting, I guess. The whole red, purple, blue thing on your character cards are kind of interesting. I don't know why they, chose those colors, but anyway, it's just good because it's a solo only. It's a different theme, and it's got that push your luck part of it. So games don't necessarily take super long, and there's enough cards in the game that keeps it fresh. Replayability is good,
and
especially
if it's super difficult, like
there's
replayability there.
It's fucking hard.
Now, do you feel the difficulty, is it arbitrary where it's like, well, it's just because it's random that it's hard, or do you actually make like meaningful decisions where it's like that's where I lost,
I think it's decisions because you need to know whether you're going to use that card out of your deck and take them out of your deck to complete something. You have to make that decision. Now it is random, not knowing what is at those locations. I mean, you don't know exactly what's going to be there, but until you push it, but then, it's a pretty simplistic game for what it is. I mean, it's a 2.15 weight, so it's but it's a solo only game, so
cool.
So, it's one worth a try. I'll pick one up when it gets released widely over here.
Yeah, I'll have to give it a shot as well. Good deal.
All right, perfect. That's my number 9.
All right, so my number 8. All right, you have a blanket and a pillow because this one's going to put you to sleep.
I have no doubts.
This is one I still believe that I think you would actually really like it, even though the theme it's awful. The theme is so dull. But man, this game, whenever I got this game in, I'm like, why did I back this? I don't why would I ever even think that this might be something I'd be interested in? But playing it, I was like, oh man, this game is just so clean of a Euro, and that is boom. Carnegie.
Yes.
You know how everyone's been clamoring for the Andrew Carnegie game, because he's just such a polarizing character. No, so this is your bog standard Euro game. I mean, even the box is beige, the board's beige. It doesn't look interesting at all. However, the way that the game just flows, and this is one of those heavier Euro games that is not 2 hours. Like, you can play this game in an hour and get that crunch feel without it being, over the top. So there's a lot that goes on. Basically, you have your own player board with that's kind of like your estate or your business that you upgrade through tiles, and those tiles are also going to be random. That for setup, you remove a certain amount, and it's like, okay, well, these are the ones I have available, and they kind of allow you to either get a bunch of money or to be able to do various actions that are cheaper or free, and you're basically trying to build up his idea or his overall business of the various industries, whether it's through parks or steel or whatever, and you're putting your own discs out in various cities to be able to connect them or to get a bunch of victory points at the end. Like the major cities, like Chicago and New York, kind of has like a ticket to ride idea where if you can link all of those cities with the chain icon, then you can get a bunch of points that way. What's very interesting about this game is, like I said, it's a worker placement game. You have meeples and stuff, but a majority of your points, and I've talked about this before, come at the end of the game, like the end game scoring. So like in my solo playthrough, my entire goal was to see how many points can I get during the game. And I got around like 40, which is high. I mean, it doesn't sound like it'd be high, but my final score ended up being like 110. So throughout the game, I only got 40 points when that was my entire driving factor. And I still, scored like 70 points at the end. So it's a very fascinating idea because, and it also makes thematic sense because Andrew Carnegie, towards the end of his life, donated all of his money. And that's why you have Carnegie Hall and stuff like that, because he was like, yeah, he was big into charities and fundraising. So he just, hey, I'm a billionaire or millionaire. I don't remember. Here's all my money.
Right.
But what's really cool about this as well is that you at the very top of that track where you see those people, those are fundraisers. And so as an action, you can like put your disc down on one of those. You have to pay for it, and the cost of fundraising gets it increases. So like your first fundraising is like $5. Your second one is 10, 15, 20, and so on. And money can be pretty tight in this game. But those are your end game goals, where it's like, okay, for each one of these, I'm gonna get it's like for every pink building I have out, I'm gonna get 4 points. So things like that. But they do have a max on victory points that you get at the end. So because some of them are a little easier to get than others, so there is a cap. But yeah, I mean, this one's kind of hard to talk about because it's like the theme is just so dull, so I can't like bring people. It's like, no, you got to play it. You got to play it.
Yeah.
But the action selection is what makes this game, I think, great as well. It's one of those one person picks the action and then everyone does it. But the track of actions are set. So like the way that it's not showing on here, but there's a thing of 4 cardboard tiles that showcase the actions, and those are all random as well. So the game will be different, but it's like, okay, well, today we're doing this action, and okay, and now I'm going to get to do that. But now that's one of the 2 available actions to choose from in this setup. It's something different. Like, yeah, it has some elements of, I don't know why I always think Power Grid and Ticket to Ride. That could just be because of the map.
It kind of looks like that.
But yeah, the way that the action selection works, the way that your estate works, the way that victory points and it works, it's not like the heaviest game in the world, but it just has that perfect balance, I think. So if theme is something that doesn't matter to you, then, I mean, unless you're a huge Carnegie fan, then yeah. I mean, I highly recommend this. I think it blew me away with how great this game was, even though theme is, whatever. So highly recommend it. And you know me, I'm pretty sure you'd like this.
Yeah, I had a chance to buy this when I was at Miniature Market, that last time or whatever, and I looked at the back of the box. It just looked boring, so that's why I didn't pursue it. I mean, I hadn't heard much about it though either, so.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Like, I wouldn't have touched this either, really, because it's like Euro games have to have some flair of theme for me. But yeah, this is one that, like, if I set it up and like got you to play it, I think that you would actually you'd like it, especially like since you play games like Lorenzo or Merv, things like that, where it's like, okay, whatever. This would be in that wheelhouse.
Okay, good to know. All right. Well, my number 8 is a game that it's a roll and write, and it's one that I've only played it solo, so I want to try it with multiple people just to see if I don't think it changes a whole lot. I think it just, because it's more or less a solo game with multiple people, to be honest with you. And it's a company, it's made by these guys that have made several roll and writes, and that is Three Sisters.
Nice.
These guys, Pinchback and Riddle, they've done like Fleet, the dice game. They have the new one that's coming out, the Detroit, the muscle car one. No, well, the muscle car one that I had on my anticipated.
Oh, yeah.
And they've done a handful, a few others, but this is one of those. I kind of put this. I mean, this isn't blasphemous like Hadrian's Wall as far as you have 2 damn sheets and everything's crazy, but this one has it's still got a lot. I mean, it's still got stuff that you've it's not just your basic simple little roll, right? The only interaction that I can tell from this is the dice drafting, because what'll happen is, depending on number of players, you're going to roll a certain number of dice, and then you move around. Your farmer moves around the board, and then you draft the dice, and then depending on what number is on that depends on what you get to do.
Okay.
The theme of this, the reason it's called Three Sisters, I was always curious about that, but apparently there's this agricultural technique called the Three Sisters that is used where you could put three crops together that work together. Like the example that they give is pumpkins, corn, and beans, because if you plant them close together, the corn provides a lattice for beans to climb, and stuff like that. So they kind of all work together they help each other when they grow. So that's what because I was like, why do they call it Three Sisters?
Is that a real thing? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
It's an actual agricultural technique.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's an indigenous agriculture, so it'd be like a type of thing. But
okay,
you plant them close together and they thrive off each other, I guess.
That's cool.
So it's an interesting one. I like it's a colorful. The pages are colorful. You have these different zones, like the apiary, the shed, fruit, your gardens. Your gardens is the main part. The other stuff is you can gain other things from it, but the gardens are where you kind of really go to town. And there's different actions. It doesn't really show on this. I think it's over to the right and it's kind of covered up a little bit, but there's different actions, because when you pull the dice off of that, when you draft dice, that number corresponds, but that's also the action you can take, because you can plant or water the numbered zone that of the dice that you pick up, or you can take the action on the space that you remove the die from, because there's certain actions you can do. Okay. So you have that option when you dice draft, and I think that's what makes this one interesting to me as a roll and write, is that it has that dice drafting in it as well, because I kind of like that mechanism. There's always one extra dice for the amount of players. Okay. So and you just kind of go through and see who could make the most thriving garden by the end. And like I said, I've only played solo, and it's pretty much the same game. It's just your opponent. You're just trying to beat your own score. Okay. And your opponent drafts dice and blocks areas and stuff. It's one of the kind of those. So I want to play it multiplayer, because I think that's where it's even better.
When you're saying board, so these are 2 sheets that each player has.
Yes.
Is there a central board that
that thing over to the right? That thing over to the right, I think it's just like a goods board.
Okay.
It's kind of covered up, but I think there's like actions on that you're going to have.
Okay.
So yeah, these are the sheets you'll have, and then this is like the thing that the dice will be on and stuff you'll draft and stuff. But
yeah, I was curious. My problem with these roll and writes is that they're typically the same game each time. I mean, even Hadrian's Wall, like, the reason why there's variety is because it's so complex. But if you play that enough times, it's kind of like, okay, like I've seen it. The sheets aren't changing. But this one looks pretty interesting. Like, I mean, I'm all for complex roll and writes. Like, typically I was going to stay away from them, but with Dinosaur Roar and Write,
yes,
and Hadrian's Wall, it's like, oh, so they actually can be thinky. Neat.
Well, and try any of the ones that these 2 do, because Fleet the Dice game is phenomenal. That's what I've heard. That one's phenomenal. This one's good. That's what makes me want to watch that Motor City. I think it's called Motor City.
Watch? Huh? You want to watch it?
Oh, well, play it. Anyway, those are the ones I'm because they thrive at this kind of stuff. That's kind of their niche and stuff. But anyway, yep. Neat. My number 8 is Three Sisters.
Awesome. My number 7, if we were just talking about the most dull worker placement game, we're going to go the one with heavy theme, but still a worker placement game at its core. This one was released episodic, which was a very unique idea of a marketing tactic from this company. This company makes amazing games. Like, they're some of my favorite worker placement heavy Euro games in general. And that is Perseverance Castaway Chronicles, episodes 1 and 2. And we already know episodes 3 and 4 are coming along. So this one is by Mind Clash Games with Anachrony and Tricarion. Both of those games are phenomenal. And this one, if you like those, I really don't see any reason why you wouldn't like this. This does the dinosaur island genre very, very well. And I love the fact that they actually release this in episodes. There is technically a campaign style to it, but it's really just their own individual game. But the way that this game is organized is really well done, where it's like the box is like, okay, here's your episode 1 stuff, and here's episode 2 stuff, and here's the thing of what you'll need between both of them, like what's universal. But what's really, really cool is that episode 1 is you're utilizing dice, and it's like kind of like a dice drafting system where they have faces on them that allow you to do various actions. So there's neutral dice that are rolled, and everyone can take those, but over time you can change those dice to your own. And while other people can take your dice, it causes them to lose votes. And votes are victory points. So it's like you crash landed on this island is the theme, realize it's overrun with dinosaurs, and you need to like become the leader.
Gotcha.
That's what the victory points are. But episode 1 is kind of like a small tower defense thing. It's like you're going to different areas to gather resources, to build walls and to build traps for dinosaurs that are coming. And the person that kind of does that the best, like, it's like, oh, hey, my wall's the one that defended the dinosaurs. My trap's the one that worked. You get victory points for that. And then the second episode is thematically like, okay, we got our base established, like we're good. We're not having to defend ourselves from dinosaurs. Now let's go out and explore the island. Episode 2 is definitely a lot more involved. It does a similar setup of kind of, you're still utilizing the beach area to gather resources and various actions, but now you're also going out and building buildings and techs out in the island, while also defeating or trapping dinosaurs, because you can either kill them and get rewards that way, or you can like trap and cage them and get victory points that way. So there's a lot of options for this. There's a lot of kind of area control for the various advisors or specialists, because some specialists, it's like, hey, for each dinosaur you have trapped, you get victory points, and others are like, hey, for each area you control, you get victory points. So there's a lot going on in this game, but I don't know, like, I definitely like episode 2 better just because there is a lot more, but I think episode 2 works so well because if you've played episode 1, then you just carry all those rules over, so it just clicks a lot more. Episode 1 is kind of a really good, not tutorial, but because it is its own game, but good introduction to this overall game, that it's like, all right, well, episode 1 was great. We did our tower defense kind of stuff, and now we can go out and explore the island. So weirdly enough, the narrative, even though it's not a campaign and there's not like a bunch of story stuff for it, thematically works really, really well. I'm not a huge dinosaur guy, but yeah, I mean, I was pretty engrossed by this overall game. There's a lot here. I'm clearly not sugarcoating that, but if you like Tricarion or Anachrony, this one is just as heavy, and it's episodic. But the hard part is kind of like you can't buy one or the other. Like they're one box, so it's not like, oh, I don't want episode 2, I just want episode 1. Well, sorry, you kind of got to buy them both. But I think they're both really, really good. Like 2 a little bit better, but 1 is extremely solid as well.
All right.
So yeah, that's my number 7.
Now I see a bunch of standees. Is that
That is, yeah. So that's the
Is this the
that's like,
retail?
I think it's retail, or it's like, it's not the, I have miniatures.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have miniatures for the soldiers, because you can also go on expeditions as well, like different levels of expeditions. That's what you need the soldiers for. But you also place soldiers on the various spots to defend. So it's not just walls or traps. Those
Sure.
are kind of like there to help, but you need to send your leader, or you need to send heavy or light soldiers. And it's like, there's a tier system. It's like, yeah, heavy soldiers can take out these dinosaurs. Light soldiers can only take out these. Your leader can take out any of them. But these types of dinosaurs kill heavy soldiers. And you're just like, yeah, I don't care. We got a bunch of people, apparently. Like our ship we crash landed on had hundreds of people on it. But yeah, so the standees are your standard, and then I also have miniatures for the dinosaurs, which is pretty cool. So yeah, this one's very solid. I think, I don't know. I might like this one better than Tricarion. Anachrony is hard to beat though for them. Like it's easily my favorite Mind Clash game.
One of these, I think I'll get brave enough to try it.
I mean, you've tried, like, they're no heavier than some of the other heavy, like, Euros that you've been playing lately. They're just more thematic, which I think it's easier to, wrap your head around rules if it's thematic.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot sometime for sure. Anachrony.
All right.
Yes.
Anachrony, yeah.
Yeah,
that's fair.
All right. Well, my number 7 is a game that I introduced to you. You were kind of just lukewarm on it. And it's based on the core mechanic of this game is based on a very, very popular deck building game that as a 1v1 deck building system. They decided to throw a bunch of miniatures in it, turn it into a tactical battle, and that is Ascension Tactics. This one, when we played it, and I played it a little bit before, we'd sit down with it. It has several different modes in it, and we did cooperative, I believe, when we played. Cooperative is fine. It comes with this big scenario book, so there's only like a couple of cooperative scenarios. Most of them are 1v1 or team deals. They want you to play a lot of 1v1 in it, but after hearing a bunch of interviews and stuff about with the designers and stuff of this game, they primarily made this game as a solo game. There is a solo there's a solo campaign set of scenarios, and that is where the heart of this game lies. And then everything else was kind of built out around that, which I didn't know initially. But what this game plays like is there's going to be it's going to be just like Ascension. It's going to have your basic row of cards you can buy or defeat or whatever in the deal. So if you know how to play Ascension, you already know how to play 2/3 of this game. But what you're going to have is you have some of the most popular characters in the Ascension world will have miniatures, and you're going to make a team of those. And then there's going to be a bad guy and some henchmen, like a leader, and some guys that they'll also have miniatures. There's a ton of miniatures with this game. And then you're going to be battling on that hex grid. It's either going to be, most of the time it's area control. You're trying to control locations, get points. It's all based on who can get to a certain number of victory points first. That's how most of them run. But so like you are doing a lot of different stuff with that. It has a really cool enemy AI system, which I enjoy. Even in the cooperative game, that was neat because you'd flip a card and it would tell you, okay, this one activates, this one activates. Yeah. And then you had to keep track because some of those wouldn't fire off unless there was a certain number of cards in the discard pile from that. So like, it'd be good since that was how they ramped up the bad guys and kept them getting stronger to match how you were getting stronger. Yeah. So it's very clever. And I know there's another Kickstarter that's going to be starting here pretty soon called Inferno. That's going to add a bunch more to it. I'm excited. Like Ascension Tactics Inferno. Yeah. Oh, okay. They have a preview page on Kickstarter. I was looking at it a little bit ago, but because I was like, did I miss that Kickstarter? But no, I haven't. I need my stuff. I think the thing about this though is a lot of these games that are in this ballpark have double randomness. There's the deck building game is going to be randomness automatically, but then there's dice.
Yeah.
This game has no dice. There's no dice rolling. It's all card based. You play your hand to cause, because there's command points is what you have on your hand when you play them, and that's to command your troops to do different stuff.
Yeah.
So to me, it makes it, I mean, tactics fits in the name of this, because there's a lot of maneuverability. There's a lot of different locations. I'm trying to think. Obstacles on the map, like there's forests or different odds and ends you have to manipulate with. It's just a really good one, and finding out about that all those solo scenario campaign type deal and how they really build up with that, and there's a little bit of story on it. Those are a blast to play solo.
Yeah, we had played it for the channel cooperatively, and I didn't think it was bad, but I was like, okay, like whatever. But the way you're talking up solo, I'd be very interested to give that a shot. I'm not going to give the designers a pass because I hate that. I hate when they're like, oh yeah, no, this is a solo game, but to make more money, we're going to make the shitty ass competitive and cooperative variants. Like, just make a game.
I think they did that because Ascension, I think that's how they appealed to the Ascension fanatics, because it's a competitive 1v1 game.
Right.
So the cooperative's the part that I think they could have left out. Like, either do the 1v1 or the 2v2, because you can do team games or whatever, and then do a solo. I mean, that cooperative, it worked fine, but there's
nothing to write home about.
Yeah, so if you like Ascension, the deck building game, this is awesome for you and stuff. And the miniatures are cool. They're not like Simon.
Yeah,
awesome, but they're still really neat miniatures, and it's neat to see all those characters that are on the cards you've played for years be in miniature form and be able to use them. It's a pretty neat little system.
Yeah, and I also wasn't. I mean, I've played Ascension like on the app like twice.
Yeah.
So I mean, I wasn't like the biggest fan. I love it.
Yeah. It's my favorite toilet. It's my favorite toilet game.
What? No, I know.
Yeah, bathroom.
I just go to the bathroom to play Ascension. All right. Well, good deal. Yeah, I'll have to check out the. You'll have to let me borrow it so I can check out the solo. The solo variant, and then,
or you can just back it when the Inferno comes out.
No, because I didn't like it. I didn't like it. What I played, I didn't like. So I could play it and be like, no, my feelings are the same. This is a whatever solo game. So yeah. All right. My number 6 is I don't have a segue. My number 6 is Dead Reckoning. Dead Reckoning is one of the newest games by John D. Clear. This is kind of his big another one of his big card crafting games, similar to Mystic Vale and Edge of Darkness, except it is pirate themed. This one I was very excited about because while I'm not like the biggest pirate fan in the world, I do enjoy the games when they're done well. Similar to like my last one with dinosaurs. It's like I'm not wearing dinosaur t-shirts everywhere, and it's like, when it's done super well, then I have a great time. And I think out of like all the pirate games I have played, this one is pretty damn near up there with theme. There's a lot that goes on into this, but it's basically kind of like your 4X kind of style fighting game. Like you have your ship and you have your crew, and your crew is that's what the cards are. So you have your captain, you have your deckhand, you have your regular crew, you have your buccaneer, stuff like that. And your ship is moving around the islands, and there's like an area control element of certain islands to gather influence, and there's ship upgrades and stuff as you're exploring the island to sleeve into your cards. So it's the card crafting system. But what's really, really cool about this is that your deck doesn't get bigger. Like, it's just, here is your crew, but now they're just getting better. You can upgrade your crew. Every crewmate, like those white cards down there, they have 4 levels. So you can upgrade those so they get, more powerful. And then also you can, again, sleeve in various special abilities. So the customization of your crew is outstanding in this game. And never once does it lose its theme or lose its way. Like, you feel like you're a pirate the entire time when you're going out and attempting to fight another player or fight an NPC. It feels super awesome utilizing different members of your crew and special abilities. There's the main objectives, because it's like first one to end the game is man, I can't remember. I don't know if they do the scythe thing where it's a certain number of objectives to be met. I want to say it is, but it's like, sink a ship or, deliver 10 cargo, because you don't have to go, pirate, really. You can do, it's kind of like the merchants and marauders. You can go merchant heavy by going to islands, picking up cargo and going back to port, turning those in. And everyone has like their own chest where they keep their money in, similar to merchants. This is basically merchants and marauders, but the Euro game.
Gotcha.
So if you like that from Fantasy Flight as the Ameritrash version, then and you want to try kind of a more streamlined, deterministic game, then this one definitely might be up your alley. There's the 4 different tiers of upgrades. Those are the clear cards down at the bottom. Those are based off how far you explore, and you can only explore 1 tile per turn, so you can't just like beeline it and be like, I'm just going to explore it, because you get, one of the objectives is, I think, to explore a certain amount of tiles, and it's like, so you can't just immediately grab that. And yeah, so the further you go, the higher up abilities, but also the tougher the merchants. So, because some of them will come out face down, and it's like, do I want to fight them or do I want to negotiate with them? Because if I negotiate with them, I'm going to get these resources. If I fight them, I'm going to get an upgrade, but you don't know how strong they are. One of the things I thought was going to be super frustrating, but it's actually a blast, is the battling in this. Like the cube tower over there, or not cube tower, but yeah, I guess it is a cube tower, is that massive ship. And whoever's fighting, you utilize a certain number of symbols to give you cubes. And like, let's say I'm fighting you and you're like, I have 4 symbols and I have 5. Or you can even be like, I have 1 cube and then I have 5. You can drop them in there, and just how they fall out, it's like, oh man, you got like a 2-pointer and I got all misses. Damn. So it's like, you won the battle, but I get a bunch of money out of it. It's just, even though it's random, it's still fun, because, I mean, sinking a ship, I mean, yeah, you get an objective, or even losing a battle isn't the end of the world. It's not like, oh, gotta start off as with a little, the dinky slip ship. Like, I guess I'm out of the game. Like, it's not that big of a deal. So it's always kind of interesting. And there is mitigation with that. There's actions and abilities you can use to be like, oh, I can now drop more cubes, or I can move where some of these are. So even though you're dropping more cubes, chances are you probably have ways to mitigate that if luck doesn't go in your favor. It's a good one, and I've only played the base game too. There's like mini sagas,
right,
that they've released that a buddy of mine has played, and he said that there's like extra cards and stuff that you progressively add. So it's not like a narrative campaign, but it's still like progression. It's not just like, oh, play 10 games of Dead Reckoning and see who wins the most. It's like, no, you actually get stuff. You unlock more unique crew members, unique ship upgrades. And yeah, like this one, I think that they went on Kickstarter again, like as a reprint and then I think for another like mini saga expansion stuff. So yeah, I mean, if this game got the Thunder Quest treatment, or even the Edge of Darkness treatment, where they did quite a few expansions, I'd be down for it. I think this is up there. Like, I like this way better than Mystic Vale. And I might like it better than Edge of Darkness. Edge of Darkness is really good, but for different reasons.
Right.
So yeah, that's my number 6, Dead Reckoning.
All right.
Solo variant's not good. I will say that.
Oh, good.
The solo variant's it's not great. I did not have a good time.
All right. Well, my number 6 is the one I feel is going to be the first crossover. You haven't said it yet, but I have a feeling it'll be up there for you. This coming. This is a sequel to a really old game by Restoration Games, and that is Return to Dark Tower.
Oh, I was like, sequel?
Well, it's technically a sequel.
Dude,
a lot
this
of
game
people
fucking
think,
sucks. I hate it.
a lot of people think it's a redo. I like it, but it's technically a sequel.
Yeah, because you're coming back to the Dark Tower. You couldn't
Right.
get enough.
So anyway, this game.
Why is that the name of a porn for some reason? Ooh, I'm coming back for that Dark Tower.
So if you've been living under a rock and don't know anything about this, this is the game that has the cool castle in the middle with all that you Bluetooth to, and it has all the it kind of runs itself and everything. But they did really cool on this with the components and everything, because like had the little skulls and all the little, just all the neat stuff. But you pretty much basic fantasy kind of stuff. You're taking on a hero, even though the heroes are kind of unique. They're not your kind of basic kind of hero types.
Mm-hmm.
But it's purely cooperative. Well, I guess technically you could play it competitive, I believe. I think there's a competitive.
I think so. I have never even looked at that. I think I might have ripped that page out of my rule book.
Yeah, so I don't know why you
this?
would play it competitive. It's a difficult enough game playing it solo or cooperative. But yeah, this one is really, nice and simplistic. It's really clear. Like the board's really concise. It's not all befuddled. You kind of know what everything is. The 3D aspects of having the different buildings that are out there that you can take different actions with, and you kind of have that whole pandemic feel, because you're trying to cleanse them before they get
before they explode. Yeah. Corruption, I think is what it's called.
So you're leveling up your characters. All the other cool thing is there's these, it kind of tosses out these little missions out there too that you can try to go get in a certain amount of time. And it's neat because it also, like, each character has their own segment of the map, that is considered their kind of area or origin area, I guess.
Yeah.
But just the way the castle runs seamlessly, it's just really neat, how they've managed to reproduce it. And you take your different doors off, and it opens up different possibilities, and the symbols shine through, and it's just a good one. And I haven't even played the expansion that came with the first Kickstarter. I haven't played any of those. With
neither have I.
And then I backed, and I'm sure you did too, the other Kickstarter that added more crap. So it's like, I need to start getting more of that stuff out and playing. But we'll talk about this more here in a little while.
Maybe. I don't know. Barely. It was considered.
Yeah. So
it was
anyway,
considered
that's
for my worst, actually.
Yeah.
Number
disappointing.
6.
Disappointing.
Disappointed that this game just was ass.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my number 6. Return to Dark Tower.
All right, sweet. Okay, my number 5. Where is it? Yes, my number 5 will most likely, I'd be very, very surprised if it's on your list. And don't you pull some Final Girl. Oh man, I forgot.
Oh no!
I know you didn't forget. Oh fuck! You know what? The list is invalid. My number 5 was originally higher on my list. Basically, at this point, like, God, number 5 through 1, these are just immaculate games. This one is kind of an odd one, because obviously it's by a company that I value very highly. Every one of their games, which is like 2 that I've played, have just been extremely solid. But this was a twist on the others, because while their others are heavy combat heavy, or they're combat heavy, or mainly combat heavy, this one is not in any way, which is a little polarizing for some people, because it's like it might make it something not enjoyable for them. But my number 5 is Burncycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's a game.
Yeah, it was made. Yeah, so this is by Chip Theory Games. Obviously, production value is top notch. It's neoprene heavy chips, plastic pegs, and if you get the brass mags, I mean those are also awesome. But yeah, what I'm talking about is that this is a heist game. This is actually a stealth kind of break into a business and complete objectives. And if you fight, that's not the best. That's not in your best interest to do something like that because you're immediately alerted if you fight someone. It's very difficult to take them, to take them out. Like, yeah, you can do some damage to kind of stun them, but to completely remove them is very, very hard. You play as members of, I think it's called the Burncycle. Oh no, the Burncycle's the system, like
Yeah, that's this down here at the bottom right.
Yeah. But you play as robotic members of a heist group, each with special abilities, different tiers of abilities you can unlock by spending your power, which is also your health, to infiltrate, a business that you pick up or that you decide, a corporation. And depending on the scenario that you pick and the corporation that you pick, that's just going to change how you go in. The layout of the corporation is going to be the same from floor to floor, but how you go about actually completing the objective is going to be completely different, which is something that is amazing for this game, because normally for me, even with the games like Townsfolk Tussle, it's like, oh, the layout's the same. I'm kind of a little bit disappointed by that because it's like I like map variety and just complete variety for every aspect in a game. And to me, if the layout's the same, then you're going to play the same. But I need to figure out some way to get that out of my head because that's not the case. How you go about doing things is going to be radically different depending on who you're playing, which corporation you're playing, what objective you have, and even who your your little helper, your little helper guy in the Burncycle is. It's just the actual Burncycle mechanism is genius. It's such a smart system because it's like okay, we have these different types of tokens out. That's going to dictate you can do any action that you want, but if you do a very specific action, then it's boosted, and it's like, man, and you can manipulate that. It's like, okay, well, I can pop that out and put this one in. But that's going to reduce our actions, and eventually we're going to have to reboot, and that's not great because the corporation's going to get tougher, and oh fuck, they caught on, they locked all the doors, that like blew a hole in like all our plan. There's just everything that you can imagine of a heist game is in this, and I love it. Like it's a puzzle at the end of the day. Like the answer isn't, oh well, the guards are right there, let's walk in there and just kill them. It's like, I mean, maybe one guy, like you might have one guy who can run in and use one of his limited time, disintegration punches on a dude and, melt him. But it's like, well, you only get two of those, and we might need those on the third floor. And the gear cards you get. This one is a blast. Like I'm really glad that they made expansions for it, because corporations are where the meat of the game I feel like is going to be.
Well, and that network board is really cool too.
Yeah, I was going to let you talk about I didn't want to take all the stuff to talk about because
that's true. I guess maybe on another video or something.
Maybe on our top 10 chip theory games, whenever they make 10. But yeah, that's just kind of overall. It's at 5 mainly because it had to go somewhere, and there's 4 other games that just slightly beat it out. But yeah, I also feel like this one's not as rules heavy as the other one. I feel like this one, especially with Too Many Bones, like this one's a lot cleaner to play. Too Many Bones, it's like, all right, did you study? Like here's your sheet. I'll see you next week, so you can maybe play efficiently. Every time I've played this, it's been down to the wire, and it's been super thematic. So if you want to see an awesome clutch moment game, definitely go check out our run through, because Brad and I did it, and yeah, it was very, very exciting, very thematic too.
That'll work. Awesome. Yep. Good choice.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought you might like this one.
All right. Well, my number 5 is a game that we also played. I don't know if we recorded it for the channel or not. I can't remember, but
Transformers.
No,
the deck
no.
building game.
This is one of those that fell right along the line of 2021, 2022.
Okay.
Depending on where you look, it could be either way. So I went ahead and put on this. And it's actually a pretty complex game. I mean, it's one of the on the higher end of complexity. It has a really neat some mechanisms to it, and that is Boone Lake.
We did not record this for the channel.
Okay.
It hasn't been on the channel yet, but yes, we did play it, and I did not. Did I consider it? It's not on my list. I think originally in my geek list on Board Game Geek, I have it on there, but I think ultimately I kind of decided it was 2021.
The cover, I mean, I don't know why there's a load like a flower in the middle. I don't know why there's all these technology type stuff in the letters. When you play the game, none of that is even evident in there. So I don't know why that's there, but it's an Alexander Pfister game. I mean, you know, he makes these fairly complex Euro stuff with Maracaibo and Great Western Trail, stuff like that. And this one was really cool because of the unique ways that you chose your power, because there's all these little boards. I don't know if they're on this picture, don't see them, but oh yeah, they're right here. So there's all these different actions that you choose. So when it's your turn, you choose an action, but then the other players get to take the smaller side of the action as well. So it's kind of like you get the main thing, but then they get the other deal. So you have to kind of take that into account as well. What you're pretty much trying to do is there's a timer on this game, because you have a ship is going down the river, and you start. Let's see, you start down here, I think, and you travel through doing the different actions. Wherever you land on, you get that stuff. First time around, you have to follow this way and go all the way back around, and then you come out to the finish. You know, so it's like that's kind of. I don't want to say it's a race necessarily. It's not.
It's as much a race as Great Western Trail.
Yeah, and Maracaibo has a lot of that too. Yeah,
he loves his Rondell games.
Yeah,
like they're all there.
It's cool because you know you're building, putting those little hex things out there, whether it's cattle, whether it's other action spaces that you're putting out there. You're building buildings. There's a lot of stuff to keep track of on this game. Even you can do technologies, even which are these little shutter things that you can pull them down and they reset at the end of the deal.
There's also cards, right?
Yeah, there's cards, and then there's the ships, because your resource generation is dependent on where those your boats are. So like they have to go upstream. If you go backstream, you have to pay to pull them back. There's the cards that are there's hand management to it, because you're able to play cards to do different stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on in this game, and this playing a game like this, I mean, this goes back to what you were saying when I talked about anachrony being intimidating. This has a lot of stuff going on with it. So I'm assuming I could handle anachrony if I can handle this,
yeah, I mean, honestly, like especially anachrony has a shit ton of expansions, but it's not like I'm throwing those in there first play.
And then down here at the bottom there's these cards, and these are like when you complete an objective, you put your meeple there for it's like, and then you remember you get to put your tokens that have certain numbers of stuff.
Yeah, they're multipliers, right?
Right. So there's just a lot of stuff going on in this game to keep track of, but
I feel like it's still manageable.
It is.
There is a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't super difficult. It's smooth. Like when you start playing it, it's a smooth playing game, and you just see flowers. I didn't remember there's the stupid flowers in the back of the coins. I've never paid attention to that.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I was trying to look it up. I was trying to look up the theme and be like, maybe it's in there, like on Board Game Geek. And it's like you leave civilization to join this, like, and I guess it's a civ from long ago.
Yeah, that's what I was reading.
Sure. Did a fucking fat line of coke, and he's like, okay, what if you went to the boonies, but they were tech savvy?
Well, and I don't understand why there's like the computerized, like computer chip stuff on where the letters of Boone Lake either. It's kind of odd. Anyway, take the box cover out of account. It's a great game. There's a little bit of a learning curve at the beginning with the iconography. Like I had to keep looking up the action tiles for the first probably half of the game just to make sure we were doing it right. But then once you kind of figured it out, it was good to go. And
And
You
even
know,
though we're mentioning all this stuff, like, yeah, everything you said is completely valid. The cards, the tech set down, on your ship, and then the public objectives for multipliers. It's like, yeah, that's all there, but that's not like you don't have to do everything. This game
right.
has so many avenues for victory that, yeah. And here's the thing, actually, if you like this, I really think you would like Carnegie, because that track, that action
Mhm.
track that you're talking about, is akin to what Carnegie has, except instead of being a major action that only you get to do and everyone does minor, everyone gets to do that action, and it's just depending on how efficient you can do it.
Oh yeah, I definitely try it. I mean, it looks fine. You could add it to the list.
Yeah, will
So,
do.
but anyway, that's my
Our
number
running
5,
list.
Boone Lake.
Nice. Yeah, this one definitely was. It was considered, but everywhere I saw it kept saying 2021, even though I think it came out at the cusp of last year, or people were able
Well,
to actively get it in
yeah,
2022.
and it says different things. Like it says 2021 on the main page, but if you do a search for Boone Lake on BGG and don't click on the thing, it says like if you just do type in Boone Lake and you just hit return where it brings up the list, it says 2022 in parentheses. So that's why it was like,
Interesting.
see, that's why that and another game that I'm going to have higher up on my list do the same thing. That's why I went ahead and put
Yeah.
them, because I went to look at when I bought them, because I bought them straight from the company.
Yeah.
And they were released, like I bought them in March, so
Yeah.
so that's
Nope,
why.
I totally get it. I mean, and
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
it's your
yeah, yeah.
list. If
No, I know. I just, yep. In
all
case
right.
there's any commenters in the deal.
Actually, that game came out in 2021, so the other 9 games don't fucking count.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. It's whatever, man. Delete.
Yeah.
Anyway, my number 4, you hate this game. Like,
Hate it,
I'm
huh?
pretty sure you said you played it a couple times and you're like, this is fucking trash. Which made me kind of think less of you a little bit. So my number 4 is one of the is an amazing boss battler game. My minis for this game
Okay.
are painted, which, God, they look so good. Kat said she had a blast painting them, and I think it looks awesome. She did a fucking badass job for it. This is, just go with it, because
I don't
I'm not gonna
hate
spend
this
much
game. It's on my
time. I don't want to make you super mad or anything.
it's on my disappointing list, not my hated list.
Yeah, my number 4 is Townsfolk Tussle. This one I was actually really happy, because I think this was saying 2021 on Board Game Geek at one point, and did eventually change to 2022. And I
I
kept
think
having
you
to
got it
check.
like you got it the very end of December, because
I
we
did.
played it when you got it, and it was like
Yeah.
December 30th or 29th or something like that.
Yeah, like as you were like gearing up to leave, like it
Yeah.
showed up, and I'm like, all right, we got to try it. And then we proceed to get our ass beat by the Scarecrow. It's like, dude, stop! He's just like stabbing us with his little peg. Yeah. So this is by a company called Panic Roll, and they really did their homework on capturing the theme. Similar to obviously, Cuphead is the video game that comes to mind. That I really feel like that game alone spearheaded this genre. Which is awesome, because I love this artwork. I love this style, even though I didn't watch any of these cartoons. I think you were in your teens, right, when these cartoons were coming out? But yeah, it's those 1920s, 1930s style cartoons with that amazing, just, the rubber leg kind of, or rubber band style art. It is, like I said, a boss battler. It's not a campaign, but it's a mini campaign where you randomly choose 4 bosses, and you put them on that track on the bottom left of the board, and they're face down, so you don't know who you're going to fight. But each boss has, different rules depending on when you fight them. If they're the first one you fight, they don't have anything added. But then if they're second, third, or fourth, or if they're second or third, then they have new ways that they play. And then the fourth, the final boss, completely, that's like, yeah, you flip the board over. It's like, hey, here's how they play if it's the final fight. This game is broken up into 2 phases of a market phase and an event phase, where you just have a bunch of events, bunch of objective, bunch of cards, to build out your character that give you different benefits and different ways to actually fight the boss. And then there's the boss phase where you go in and fight them. They have an AI deck. It's just very clean. It's not obviously as like AI boss driven as like something like KDM or anything like that, but man, is it just, I mean, it feels like that, but yet you feel like you're just getting your ass beat at sometimes, but then you're also beating up the boss, and like you have to be tactile on where you're gonna move, what you're gonna move to, when you're gonna actually damage him, because it's like, man, if I do a bunch of damage, it's just gonna cause him to do a breaking point, and he's just gonna beat the shit out of me afterwards. Ugh. It's just so good. And I actually had someone tell me we were playing it incorrectly, because it's like you can only attack once regardless of how much moxie you have, and I think we were attacking multiple times, which I'm really glad that they told me that, because I don't like these games to feel trivial. I like my boss fights to actually feel like boss fights, unless it's like, hey, this has 400 health. It's like, okay, like that's a bullet
Right.
sponge. That sucks. So I like whenever they react and they're doing stuff, and you have to be reactive and proactive and actually feel like you earned the fight or earned the win. Yeah, and they're going back on Kickstarter, which is amazing for a bunch of stuff. The only thing that I wish they would change is not necessarily, like I said, whenever you flip the, like this is Will Barlow, when you flip that over, the map is set up based off of his fight. I wish they would come up with a way to randomize the terrain. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, because KDM and other games, their terrains have like rules on them. Like it's like you randomly draw them. It's like, oh, the barn has to be 3 spaces away from all miniatures or something like that, to where you can just kind of move the terrain around without it breaking. But maybe they tried that and it just didn't work for their system. I don't know. It's not a deal breaker. It's my number 4 of the year. This game is so much fun. Like all the bosses are radically different, and yeah, I'm so excited for the expansions, because that's just more bosses, more characters, and yeah, this is basically Cuphead the game, just without the music. But they made like a playlist before this game
That's cool.
came out, and like it wasn't like they didn't create the music. It was just like, hey, here's music that inspired, like that we listened to while making the game, and I'm like, yeah, these are all bangers. Like I love that kind of music,
Right.
that jaunty, jazzy kind of 1920s stuff. So sorry I talked too long. I know you were kind of throwing up in your mouth a little bit because you just you just
Well, you know
hated
what?
it.
You know what? My number 4 will make you throw up your mouth. So we're just gonna go right. We're just gonna go right back at it. Difference.
Okay.
What the difference was this one was on my disappointing list, not my worst list, and this one was on your worst list,
Oh,
and that is
really?
Sniper
Number
Elite board
4?
game. Oh, I love this game,
No,
man.
I knew it was gonna be. I was hoping it would be like an honorable mention or
No,
something.
this
Not number 4.
I've played this solo. I've played it with just you and me. I played it with groups of 3 and 4. I have a blast every time. It doesn't matter. I have more fun as the sniper, but I have fun
Mm-hmm.
playing the other way too, just because you start learning the how to do stuff and the randomness of not knowing exactly what objective is out there, and there's just a lot of cool stuff. I hope that they do more with this game support wise. It was a Kickstarter. Um, it's the publisher's Rebellion Unplugged, which is the video game company that made Sniper Elite. So I don't know if they're going to, because Rebellion Unplugged Rebellion is the video game company. They call it Unplugged because it's a board game faction of their company, I guess. So I'm hoping that they
Gotcha.
keep continuing with this and throw different stuff in. This game's pretty much a 1 versus many. You're hidden all the time. The only time your sniper ever gets on the board is if they do something that, whether they shoot and it shows up or if they get discovered. They have their own little board that they sneak around with using a dry erase marker, and you have to, in order to win, the sniper has to complete 2 objectives. And they're on a time limit. You have like 10 turns to get one of them done, and then it resets to the next one. But what's cool to me is down here they have these playing cards. This is your objectives. So depending on the map, you'll pull 2 cards, and if they ever have the same suit, then you have to get rid of one and pull another. They have to be 2 separate suits because the suits are what determine what sector of the board those objectives are in. That way they're not both in the same one. You can just end the game really quick. It makes you have to travel. And then whatever. And so you pick 2 of those, and then like let's say you got a red and a yellow, then you can only enter where there's black or white. So there's a 50-50 chance that you are going to be in the right area. They're going to find you there, but they're scattered all over the place because no matter how many people you're playing against, there's going to be the full set of Germans out there.
Yeah.
And they have their abilities of searching an entire sector. They can do this and that. And then they have the randomness of you have a bag building technique because when you decide you're going to shoot, then you're going to be pulling. You determine how many chips you want to pull out of the bag, depending on how the range of your shot. So if you want to shoot 5 spaces away, you're going to pull 5 chips, and then if you have a certain number of like as long as you don't pull the misses or the misfires or any of that stuff, then you're going to succeed.
I can't remember. How do you get different items again? Because there's a deck of item cards that you
right. So these down here at the bottom.
Yeah,
right here.
Yeah. How do
you start with 3 of them? You get to choose 3 at the beginning, and then all the numbered locations that are not your objective, you can go if you're on that deal and you do a loot action, then you draw 2 cards and pick one.
Okay.
So that's how you do that.
And does that alert? Does that
no.
cause you to show up? Okay, I didn't think so.
No. So there's different maps. I have the expansion box, the Eagle's Nest, which adds another double-sided board with 2 different locations. That
is a benefit of this game that others don't. Like none of the other hidden movement games have different maps.
Yeah, and I haven't tried the one yet, but it looks interesting because it's like a village. So there's like a bridge going into the village, and it's an outdoor like town that you're moving around in and stuff. So
okay,
I want to try that one out too. And the other one's like a big hotel that you're moving. It's an all interior one, but no, I love the video games for this. I jumped right into this. Love this game, and I hope they keep supporting it. The Kickstarter version has the poker chip, weighted poker chips or what in the bag.
Yeah, those were nice.
Which are nice and stuff, and then all the miniatures are washed, so they're nice and stuff.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good production.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my number 4, Sniper Elite.
Yeah. This one was on my worst list. Someone commented on I think on our discussion for this, and they were talking about, they're like, oh, you must not like hidden movement games, and I'm like, that's a very weird like assumption to make, because I didn't like this one. It's like, no, the ones I really like, and it's very hard to just make a new one that blows the door off its hinges. It's like, but I don't know, this one just did not click for me. And the funny thing is it was on my worst, and out of all the games, that this was the most controversial one because so many people do like it, and it's like, that's not even that big a deal.
Yeah.
Yep. But cool. All right, my number 3 is our is our first crossover.
Oh.
Yeah, I think this is our first crossover.
Did I guess it right? Is it let's see. It won't be, is it Dark Tower?
It is. It is Return to Dark Tower. Yes, this was number 1. This was gonna be my number 1 game up until the past week. And for a while, because I had my top 10 list made for quite some time until we were doing the other lists, and then I'm like, hey, okay, well, perfect. I have some other games I want to try that might make it on here. Yeah, Return to Dark Tower is a phenomenal cooperative game. Like, this is one of those games where it's like you're not feeling like your back is against the wall, where it's like we just have no chance. Like, this one, you feel powerful. Every character has their specialty, like the warlord there. Like, if he doesn't have all the warrior chips, he's doing something wrong. Like, you can just, it's like, but that's the one thing. So if he goes into battle and it's like, hey, get rid of spirit, get rid of do this or this, and he's like, I have an army. Like that's all I got. Then you fail or you start taking corruption, and it's very easy for you to gain corruption and hard for you to lose it. And so therefore it's easy to lose. So everyone has their special ability. Everyone has their own tech, that they get to like abilities that they can unlock. Yeah, kind of like what you were saying with like the dungeons or the mission objectives like that pop up. What's really cool about this game is you have no hard and fast rule on how long your timer is, like how long each year is going to last. So it's like, no, we have time to complete the objective. Let's do this stuff over here. And then it's like, oh, it's over and we failed, and now the boss is way tougher.
Yeah.
It's just so, that app is so clean. That tower is, I mean, if you want to talk about like what board games can be, like that thing runs flawlessly. I don't know who they hired or how they programmed it, but it is easily like if you're talking about just cool gimmicks in a game, this is number one. That tower is just so fucking neat. Because each turn at the end you have to drop a skull into it, and there are dice tower or cube towers and stuff that can like catch it, and it's like, oh man, where is it? Or you have to like listen, like, did that, like, where'd that fall? But that's not anything new, but making it electronic, making it make sounds and rotate and then drop stuff, and then you have to remove, like you said, the face plates where it's like, hey, now I have a lot more openings for skulls to fall, or symbols that make my actions limited. And the sheer amount of adversaries you have to fight and the scenarios you can pick is awesome. And with the new expansions, there's even more coming. Yeah, I really hope they continue to support this. It's just, it's so good. And I haven't tried hardcore mode. I've heard it's like, because you can play on normal, and I've won, I think I've only lost once. So I win more often than not, but even then it's like, it doesn't feel like you just swept it. It's like, oh, okay, all right, how are we gonna, like, you still feel like you're challenged without it being like frustrating. But I've heard hardcore mode is kind of like the difficulty spike is just out of nowhere. It's like, really? Like, maybe there should be like a easy, medium, hard, not standard and ass fuck difficulty.
Right.
So, and I've heard the guild expansion is really good and also makes it a lot more difficult. So, yeah, very excited. This game is awesome. I love the region support. This game also helps because of that it's like, I don't really believe in quarterbacking. Maybe it's because I'm the one quarterbacking. I don't know, but you can't, because you can't see their side of the board. So you just have to be like, oh, okay, yeah. It's so cool. It's a perfect balance of you feeling like a badass while the adversaries also and the enemies are also equally tough.
Right.
So yeah, that's my number 3. And I should also mention my 4 through 1 are all 10 out of 10s. Like,
okay.
I need to look up what I gave Burncycle. A 9. Okay. Yeah. So surprisingly, 4 through 1, 10 out of 10s. They honestly, 3, 2, and 1 could honestly kind of be interchangeable.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's my number 3, Return to Dark Tower.
All right. Well, my number 3 is a game that was another one I think might be a crossover. Well, I'm not sure if you considered it for this year or not. It was one of those that was kind of late 21, 22. I got it from the company in March, so that's why I counted it 22. It's kind of the hotness. It has been most of this year. It climbed up BGG super fast and is a top. I don't know what it's at right now. Whatever. But that is.
Wow. I thought this was your number 1.
Nope.
Wow. Nope. Yeah, dude. Like, and so a couple things. One, wow. I totally thought this was your number 1 of the year. I have no idea what it is now. Oh, yes. Do I? I don't know. Maybe your 2 might surprise me. I don't know 2 or 1. But I also did not consider this for the same reason Boone Lake was shown as 2021 for me. I did consider this one more than Boone Lake, but what decided if it was going to make my list or not was I knew it was going to be on yours. So I was like, you know what? I'll not include this. Talk about another game, and
Yeah.
let you take the wheel.
So this one is rated 4th on BGG now. That's how fast it went
Did
up.
it did it supersede Terraforming Mars?
I don't know. I'm not looking at the
Okay, I'll look it up real quick.
But anyway, pretty much
it did. Terraforming Mars is 6.
Yeah.
Twilight Imperium is 5. Holy shit! This is
one, because like a lot of the people like Vassal and those guys had gotten it late 21. I think it was like an Essen thing. That got released over there first, and then Capstone in March said, it's available now. Get it. So
I think you were able to pre-order it. In 2021. Right, I got my copy before you.
Right. But it's pretty much it's a current day zoo building game, and it's super crunchy with stuff. There's all kinds of stuff going on. It has I really enjoy the action selection mechanism of it, because everybody has 5 cards that are their actions. When you use it, then it has to go, to the back. And you can upgrade those cards to make them more efficient. Everybody has their own zoo that when you buy certain cards, and you need to have enclosures so those animals can fit in. There's a stack of probably 250 cards that pop out that have all different types of stuff. And you have to you're dealing. There's so many things you can do. Like you're trying to manipulate your gain reputation, conservation points, your park's appeal, all that different stuff. I think the interesting thing about this game, though, is like you can win this game dominantly and only have like 5 points, because the game end triggers when the first person crosses their two pawns on the scoring track. And then if you finish out, I think you do one more round or you finish out that round. I can't remember, but so it's very easy to get negative points, because if you never cross your scoring pieces, you're in the negative automatically. And it's like
the scoring is so weird.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's unique and it makes sense. Like it's the hardest thing to teach people. Like when you're playing the first game, it's like,
it's kind of like at the end.
You have a negative
like,
24. No. I have 3. I win.
Yeah. No, I mean this game is a masterpiece. Like it's I love that zoo theme. The only negative, and this is a across the board negative, is this game is fucking long.
It is.
Like I will never play this with more than 2.
Yeah, like, two is my limit. I played it with 4.
Oh god.
At Chad's house one time.
Was that your whole day?
I taught it to him. It took about 3.5 hours.
That's not bad.
I played with all of us. It was a full complement of players.
Wow.
I taught it to him, and it was fine. We did fine. Yeah. I ended up crushing them all, but
there's just no player interaction. Like, and it doesn't even make the one that is in this game doesn't make any sense. It's like I'm adding a snake. That zoo across the town is getting bit. It's like what? Yeah. Solo variant is awesome too. Have you finally tried
what's funny is I haven't played it solo yet.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy. It's because it's just, I don't know, this game, and they have the expansion going to be coming out this next year, and they have map packs that I could buy. I haven't bought the new map packs yet.
They have the one map pack,
and stuff like that. So it's like,
got it at Gen Con.
I mean, I haven't and I know it's controversial to say, oh, this is just like Terraforming Mars and blah blah blah. It has aspects of Terraforming Mars. It's not the same. You can have both for sure.
You can.
I haven't touched Terraforming Mars since I've gotten this though. So I mean, I guess that says something.
Yeah, Terraforming Mars was great when it came out. Ark Nova I mean, I think they're similar enough that you can make the comparison, but you can't own both. Like it's not like it's not like this is Terraforming Mars, but with zoo animals.
Yeah. This is one of those games I have not sleeved, because if you sleeve it, you're going to have a metric shit ton tall stack.
I think I have sleeved some of it, but no, I need to get the insert for it.
Yeah, I have an insert, but Yeah.
This one's really, really good. Yeah, the action selection is awesome because you can also upgrade those actions to be a little bit better, but you're not gonna be able to upgrade them all.
Yeah, you can,
and this is
you
really
can
cool.
upgrade 3 to 4. I think 4 is the most you can get done.
Yeah. Yeah, based off your reputation, that gets you access to more cards. It's awesome. Yeah.
And this is the
One's
first
really
design from this guy, the designer. This
no
is his
way,
first. This is his
really.
first game. Can you imagine? It's like
Wow.
it's
Imagine like having the biggest dick in the world. Like that's
it's like
pretty
I'm just gonna
cool.
make the fourth best game of all time. Just kick it out.
I just really love animals, and Terraforming Mars is kind of, it's kind of whatever. I think I could make a better game. And then he does, and then it's just like he just goat
Yeah.
sees the world. Yeah. Yeah, very excited for Aquarius.
Yeah, and apparently what they're because I listened to an interview about that, and what they're going to do with that is they're going to add those. If you play with that expansion, you're going to add those cards in, and everybody was like, "Well, that's just going to be totally make that deck. It's
Yeah,
going
it's
to
gonna be watered
dilute
down
it,
all the
but you're
hell.
supposed to take out X number of cards. Like you're
Okay.
going to take cards out to put those in. I think, from what I understand of
Sure.
the interview,
Okay.
just to
Yeah,
keep the deck around the same size and
yeah,
stuff.
same size.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I just quickly saw they're adding like universities and stuff, which
Yeah,
that would be the only thing that I would like to see more of is like maybe not continents or stuff, but the more universities to specialize would be pretty cool. And the fact that your park has different rules. They have a bunch of different zoo parks
mm-hmm.
that kind of
Yes,
change how you're gonna lay out and build. It's fantastic. Yeah, this game is. I gave it a 9 out of 10. It would have been a 10 out of 10 if it wasn't a
right.
3 hour game.
Yep.
All
All right,
right, good
that's my
deal.
number 3.
Wow. Okay, and my number two. Now, I kid you not, my number two and my number one were so close. They're like I said, they're 10 out of 10s. That to decide which one went into number one, I went to Board Game Geek and saw who had the highest rank. And one is a 9.3 and one is a 9.2. And so I'm like, well, there you go. That's how I'm putting them. They easily could. They're practically number one. My number two is one of my highly anticipated games, jumped onto my top 100, and now for 100% certainty it would be way higher on that. It is such an amazing boss battler game, and that is Oathsworn, Into the Deepwood. I have now played this multiple times, and it's phenomenal. This is like a masterclass of a pure boss battler. I mean, because it's just so clean. Like the designers of this, or a designer, wanted to give the players agency and make the atmosphere of the game feel very very tense, but not tense in a way that it's just like, oh, the enemy's just constantly doing damage, or oh, it's doing well because die rolling is going in their way. It's like you have so much mitigation for what you want to do that like you feel, I mean, it's still tense. Like I was talking about kind of with slight spoilers here because they have the mystery boxes and stuff, but they what I was talking about with like Townsfolk Tussle, it's kind of like, okay, I want to feel challenged, but I don't want to be like, I don't want to feel like I'm, getting cheated. Like, I mean, the boss fights in like Madara, for example, which is a phenomenal game as well. It's kind of like, oh, you have 300 health and I'm missing because dice or whatever, and they're doing well because they're actually hitting because of dice. It's like, well, that's not a difficulty scaling. This game has none of that. Like I don't even know where to begin. The story writing is so good. Like we were in chapter 2 and there's like 21 chapters, and it was already making hard decisions. Like we were just given one where it's like, oh fuck. And it tells you blatantly when the decision is coming out, being like, hey, do you want to do this or this? You will not be able to do both. And so it's like, oh, well shit. Oh god, what do we want to do? The characters are radically different. They have it's not this isn't one of those where it's like it's not about the build. Like your character isn't being like a Diablo style build or something, or where you just have a bunch of weapons and abilities and stuff, but it's very succinct, and you still get item upgrades and you still get class upgrades, but it's very clean. Um the boss fights where they're story driven and they're in those mystery chests. So whenever you're playing and making decisions throughout the story, you don't know what you're going to come up against until it tells you what box to open. And you might be able to get, based off decisions, you might be able to get like a sneak peek and be like, oh, okay, that's what we're kind of coming up against. That's cool. So it might lose that factor once you play through a whole campaign. I don't believe you will see everything. I don't believe that you open up every single box, because there is a choice matrix, and so if you decide to do one thing, you might not be able to do another. Therefore, you might not open other boxes. I don't know that yet. But based off the description and stuff, it does say that heavy choices. So it's like, okay, therefore we shouldn't be able to see everything. But yeah, like one of my favorite things about this game, there's a lot, but you can use dice, or it has like a Gloomhaven card matrix. So those cards, those black, red, yellow, and white cards, it has a push your luck element. So it's like you can draw as many cards as you want. Like the yellow, red, and black are based off of your items, but you can draw as many white cards as you want. But if you draw 2 misses, then your whole attack misses. But it's just so cool. You get so many tokens of being like redraw, and over and over and over. And even if you miss, all those tokens you spent come back to you, and you're rewarded. So it's like, oh, I missed. Okay, well, I spent 5 redraws and these upgrade tokens. Well, those are just coming back, and you get to pick any token because you're more determined to hit next time. Thank you, fucking finally. Like, it's so cool. The other aspect of this game that I believe is unique is that the enemy deck, the top card of the deck, what the enemy is going to do is face up. So you know exactly what it's going to do. But where I thought that was going to make the boss trivial, where it's like, oh, I know what it's doing, so I can plan for it. You can, but there's nothing you can do to stop it from doing what it's doing. So if you break a location and like which are the dice, then it's going to react by doing that card. But then if you plan for that, the next card that's coming, you have no idea what that is. So it flips over, so you know what's happening, but it might be its turn. So it's like, oh, we planned for that one, but now it's just, this is a perfect game, like through and through. I can't see any reason why this would all of a sudden tank. Like, because I'm hesitant on these kind of games since KDM just into the ground, but there's various reasons why KDM did what it did, from going from a 10 down to a 4 for me. This just, what was his name? I can't remember. Jamie Foley, I think, was the designer. Unless all the other mystery boxes are just filled with giant piles of shit, I cannot see any reason why this is going anything less than a 10.
Yeah.
Like,
I wanted to get it. When I get something, I want to get all of it, and it was a very high entry point. So
yeah, I think it's about 500 to get everything for it. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's money well spent. Like, this one was my most anticipated game at Gen Con. I like bolted, like just fucking elbowing people out of the way. And even then, here's the other thing about this company is I was the guy right before me. I could have just cut his throat, but he got the last all-in box. Like, and I walked up and the guy was like, yeah, we're all out of all-ins. I'm like, really? I got up at like 6 a.m. to get here, and the people at the door fucking suck, and they closed off my entryway. And then he talked to some guy, and he was like, hey, can we just let him get like the last one? And they're like, sure. I'm like, yeah. So that was awesome. They were really cool about that. So yeah, without me gushing over this, the run through or the series will be coming, so you can definitely check that out. When not you, but people watching this can definitely check that out. We do start that, and yeah, that's my number 2, Oathsworn Into the Deepwood.
All right. Well,
this is this company's only game. I'm very curious if it's like going to be a lifestyle game, or because they just did a 2nd edition, so I'm wondering if they're going to stop and make something else.
I don't know, or just keep making content for this. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, here's hoping.
Yeah. All right. Well, my number 2 is a game that, you're going to know.
Is it a crossover?
No.
Okay.
So this is a game I just got last week,
Oh, okay.
and I've been playing it, learning it, and playing it, and it may be a little early for me to say this, but it's probably my favorite solo experience.
Wow. Just
That
in
I've
general?
yes,
Dang.
because I like the game the mechanics are based on, but then everything they've added with the campaign makes it great, and that is Hoplomachus Victorum.
Wow.
Um, this I mean, Chip 3 games, they go overboard on their production anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But this takes a system in Hoplomachus that I enjoyed anyway, and added to it this very uh, awesome solo campaign. Like you are taking on what the kind of the theme of it is, like Vesuvius is getting ready to erupt, so you are this is this where Hoplomachus is like actual like historical realism and stuff. This
Mm-hmm.
Victorum takes more of the epic, like mythical world. So
Like the Greek gods, right?
yeah,
Aren't
yeah,
they?
like
Yeah. Okay.
Plato or Pluto is the god of the underworld. So like you're calling on these heroes that are going to do all these um uh things to stop the volcano from erupting. That angers Pluto. So then Pluto is kind of the end boss. That's who I'm working towards.
Okay.
I've only done a couple of the campaign things right now, but it is so awesome. The little map things are small grids. You have your world map down there. You have your heroes that you're going to be constantly leveling up and moving on. The thing they added towards the very end of the campaign is this little deal up here
Oh, the holds the
that,
chips.
and it doesn't, it's the one that they actually decided on is all one piece, and it's white marbled, so it looks like
Oh,
really cool
cool.
marbled, and it holds the chips for the battle, holds the cards, holds the dice. um you just, I don't know, man. It uses the small mats, kind of like how Too Many Bones does,
Mm-hmm.
because Hoplomachus in general was just a big map of hexes that you always converged on. This one has the small areas. You're going through and whooping ass and
Yeah.
trying to move on to the next stage. Um, and
Is the combat like card driven? Like how's the fighting work?
it's dice and
It's
stuff
dice.
too.
Okay.
That's what those dice are back there in the back with the
Oh, I
HPs and
see.
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and they had the metal dice that were super expensive.
Metal dice
Dice look
suck
even better
anyway.
than these. This looks like it's almost like it's not prototype, but it's not like the final.
This is kind of what they were
You
showing
know,
at Gen Con a little bit, where it's like,
right?
yeah, like
Yeah, because these dice that we get are like marbled. They're really
okay.
nice, high grade dice. But you go through and you do all that stuff. I don't know if you did this in your pre-order, but there's a hero sheet that's neoprene also. It has it's kind of where you keep track of this stuff, but it has these little pegs, and they're silver pegs, and they look like swords that you're stabbed into the ground, and you use those. It's like
Okay,
it was like a
cool.
little add-on that you could get for like $10 or whatever, $15, something that I added or I got for free for back in the Kickstarter. But
Yeah.
um, it's a neat little thing. You don't have to have it, but it's just kind of cool. Um, but yeah, this game is bonkers with solo play with it, and I love the theme. And they redid all the art with the remastered Hoplomachus. Because Hoplomachus itself, the art was just clip art stuff because it was like their first Kickstarter game, Chip Theory.
Right.
And then they redid all the art on all the chips with unique custom new art, and everything's just beautiful. When you get yours next year,
Yeah,
you'll
I'm looking at it. Like I was seeing like what all I ordered.
because the other cool thing about this is like it
Yeah,
doesn't
I got
take
the hero tracker
okay,
mat. I got that, and
yeah,
the premium health chips and stuff.
it doesn't take a lot of time to set up because the stand that has the chips back there, when you get your box, in the box it has a lid to it, So like the lid just sets so it holds all that stuff in there. So like you just pop that
Oh,
out, set it
awesome.
down, throw the mat down, get your character out, roll. And it's the setup is super fast. And yeah, I mean this one is very, very nice as far as how things go.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I'm excited to play it. Okay. My number one, do you have any guess?
Is it the same style of game as
Yes.
Oathsworn from we've been talking?
Yes.
Is it? I can't remember the name of it, but it's that one big ass one that's the big coffin box.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yep.
can't remember the name of it.
I said 2022 was going to be the year of boss battlers, and it was finally going to release games that were going to dethrone KDM, and I still stand by that because I believe it has, especially with this game. So my number one is Aeon Trespass Odyssey. Now, funny enough, this game takes a lot of inspiration from Kingdom Death Monster, but does everything way better. Like, in terms of actual randomness mitigation, in terms of actually having story that you don't have to fucking dive into the depths to be able to get. This everything that I do like about KDM is in here and done better. So like, and this game is just so free flowing. There's so much to it. Like I've barely scratched the surface of it. Hey, that's Oathsworn. That's not Aeon's Trespass.
Oops, sorry.
Um,
We'll just go back
Neat.
to this then.
Yeah. So I mean that was a cool Oathsworn thing. You know what? Actually, Oathsworn's my number one as well. So I mean that's essentially what this game is. There's just a bunch of content in this box. Like there's 3 different cycles, which are massive amounts of basically full-fledged campaigns, but they tie in together. There's your resource gathering to then, get technologies and get upgrades and weapons, and you can build up your ship as well as your titans that, help you go into the primordial fights, which are your boss fights. The AI deck and the body parts deck are in there, so the enemy reacts just like it would in Kingdom Death Monster. You feel like a total badass running up on it. There's 2 major things that differentiate this from others. Is that one, they have their what's called their escalation system, which is that instead of fighting a boss and it gets gradually weaker as it takes damage, um, and you as a player, if you take damage you get gradually weaker. It's inverted in that the enemy gets stronger as well as you get stronger, but it's a double-edged sword. As you're getting stronger, if you're increasing your range or your danger or your fate, then you're running that risk of, because those tracks can only go up to 9, so if you ever break 9 on any one of those, your titan either goes insane or it actually dies or has a chance of dying. But you're super powerful up to that point, so you have a higher chance of damaging the enemy. And the second thing is what's called their Triskelion system, which is that danger, range, rage, and fate values. So fate is what you use to mitigate die rolls, and just having that as an option of being like, do I want to? It's like I missed. Do I want to increase my fate to re-roll this? Because sometimes if an enemy attacks you, it'll be a stronger attack, or effects will happen based off your fate value. It's just, so that's just amazing, the fact that that's there. Then you have your story. There's so much story, so much side adventures, so many decisions you make in this cycle storybook, and it has a 7th continent kind of feel where you explore the map and it's like, oh hey, we're on here now, we have an adventure, and what adventure do we have? And you roll a die. It's similar to like the hunt phase in Kingdom Death Monster, where you just have an event, but that has progression. Depending on if you get the same event multiple times, it's going to change. Yeah, like I'm just scratching the surface with this game. I'm barely in the first cycle. The Learn to Play mini prelude campaign does a really good job of walking you through every phase. That it's almost a must, because it does kind of kickstart the first cycle. Like what you get in the prelude does carry over. It's not just like a separate tutorial. Then all right, now actually start. It's like, nope, just now start cycle 1 and you progress. Yeah, there is a lot, and there's a lot more coming too, because I got cycles 1, 2, and 3, and they're actively working on cycles 4 and 5, which they say is going to have even more content. I mean, yeah, this one, the reason why this one, like I said, it edged out Oathsworn was mainly because it has a 0.1 higher ranking. That's how I decided, because I really couldn't. These are both 10 out of 10s for me. But I think at the end of the day, this one just has way more content. And that might change. Like, I might finish both campaigns of Oathsworn and this, and then be like, oh, never mind. Oathsworn had a way better, finish, or a way better campaign by the end of it. Or this one could just become too muddy, in the middle. I don't know. I haven't beaten either campaigns, but as of right now, yeah. And this theme is just fucking badass. Like the overall theme is that you wake up in a not post-apocalypse, but there was something called, I want to say, the Echelon, which is like these primordials showed up and wiped the Olympic gods. Like they're fucking dead. And you wake up as these Argonauts, of course, with amnesia, and there's story events and stuff that you can unlock for your characters, but you have the power to control these titans. And it's like, well, if the primordials weren't an issue, these titans certainly would be, but we have this tech that allow us to like almost like mind into them and be like, oh, now we control you. And the titans are the only things that can damage these primordials. So, and this picture does a fantastic job of showcasing the the scope of size, which is really cool.
Yeah,
it's yeah, this has so much to it that it was very hard because I love both this and Oathsworn. They're, I mean, fucking, they're both number 1. Like,
1A and 1B.
Yeah, pretty much. I really had a hard time, but I got to play both of these before we started doing this video, and I'm like, oh yeah. Well, Oathsworn was already, because I had already kind of played it. This was the big one that I got, and I'm like, oh, I gotta try it. And yeah, they both shot up to 1 and 2. So yeah, without gushing over, anything else, like, I really think if you like Kingdom Death Monster, then definitely get this. One, it's significantly cheaper to get everything for it. It's like $500 for all 5 cycles, whereas KDM, that's the core box.
Right.
And if you don't like KDM, I mean, take it from me. Like, I'm an advocate against that game, but I love this one because it fixes everything that I had a problem with. It's fixed here, so while keeping the badass boss battler civilization kind of build up. So yeah, that is my number 1 game of 2022, Aeon Trespass Odyssey. All
right. Well, you probably know my number 1
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, it came in like I knew exactly it was my number 1, when I started making this list. And if I would have had my number 2 longer, it may have passed it.
Wow. Okay.
So, but I just haven't played it as much as I played this one, and it is
Oathsworn.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow. Those games all look alike.
What's the novelty of this one?
But yeah, Burncycle, like you said, and this is my 1 and 2 are both Chip Theory games. So
I know, yeah.
So I'm a Chip Theory fanboy, I guess, at this point. I love all their stuff.
You haven't played Cloudspire, though?
Yeah, I have.
Have you?
Yeah, I played.
I did not know you played Cloudspire.
I played it solo. I've done several of the solo scenarios.
Oh, nice.
I just did about 6 months ago, 5-6 months ago. I've been
okay.
So, and I like it. It's on the lower of them.
Sure.
Like, but this and Too Many Bones and Hoplomachus and that stuff are all just right up there.
Okay.
This one, like you had said just a little bit ago, the theme is awesome because I, being a net runner, that whole cyberpunk thing, this kind of gives me that little bit of feel of going in and hacking and taking stuff and sneaking around the corporation to get stuff. all the while going through and doing, all the other things. There's the cool thing is like you have all these different corporations, but then each corporation has like, I want to say 6 to 8 different.
8?
Yeah.
I want to say 8.
Yeah, of different scenarios under that. So the building will stay the same in all those. It's just the scenario changes, which makes sense because their skyscraper building is going to be the same layout.
Yeah.
And but the terminals maybe in different places and all this different stuff. There's so many different bots to choose from. I just thought of that name, that the bot that sits over on the deal is the command module.
Thank
That's
you.
what they call him. I thought of that earlier when we were talking.
Yeah, I was like, I don't remember.
Right. And there's a time track also, because like this will start going down, and the further down that goes, the harder things get for you.
Yeah.
The network is a whole, like, it's kind of like a sub game, like a little mini game that you're trying to move your pings around to get resources and to try not to get booted by them as they move around. There's just all these things, and there's all these mods that you can get for that give you special abilities and stuff, or maybe some extra special dice, because a lot of them have these special little orange dice that correspond to the card, that you'll use, whether it's just different odds and ends. The having the brass mags is awesome. Thematically, this game is crazy. They all have, like, you'll have the little glass beads will be in the middle of several of the rooms, and as soon as you enter, you have to roll this dice to see what, if you get scanned or what's in there, because you don't know what's in there. It's kind of neat that way, because like in Gloomhaven, I know you're not supposed to, but when you're playing Gloomhaven, what's on that map. This one, there's a randomness that there could be a big son of a bitch in there that
just walk in there and you're like, oh,
right. There's keypads that you have to be able to break and to
I forgot about the hacking.
Yeah, there's just all this stuff. You can even break a hole in a wall to skip out, and everything. It's just, there's so many possibilities with this, and it's a puzzle ultimately.
The team you send in is also very not deterministic. Is very like, variety is super high, because it's like you might have the perfect team to go into an objective, or if you randomize it, then it's like, oh, we are in trouble. Like,
exactly.
Like some of the bots are really hard to get down.
It is. And what's awesome is the command module that you have up there that you select at the beginning of the game. There's so much variety, because every bot in the game can also be on the back side is the command module.
Yeah.
So every bot you can play as the command module. You can play them out, vice versa. And you upgrade them however you need to get certain dice that you're rolling, and you're spinning those dice to do different things, or their actions, skill checks and everything. It's just, there's just so much. And like some of the events, the objectives that they have in there are awesome. Like one of them is like the Teddy Ruxpin thing, these robots that are spying on people. So you're going in and you're trying to steal a little teddy bear and escape. And all this different stuff. It's like they've thought it out pretty neat and all that stuff. And there's a whole line of sight thing, which is cool, because I like how the bad guys, they have, like, they're patrolling, so they patrol the outside. They have different abilities they do. Then you also ultimately will come down to fighting the captain, which has this whole special thing that'll happen also, because I'll have a captain chip in the Burncycle. There's a lot going on in this game, but like you'd said earlier, as opposed to their other games, which are really good, this one seems to be smooth and easy to learn. Like, I can teach this game to somebody fairly quickly, ultimately because it's co-op and we can work together. But
Too Many Bones is co-op as well, but that's a beast to try and, because it's like, if you've never played the Gearlock, I think is what they're called. If you've never played them, then it's like, well, I can't really help you. Like, I don't know how they run. But this one, it's like, oh yeah, nope, these are the chips you get. These are your special abilities. This is how. Yeah.
And just the Burncycle is probably the trickiest thing to learn, because it's one of those things, like, there's chips that are going to be out on this Burncycle, and you can take whatever action you want to on that ship. But if you take the action that's in the same color of chip that's there, it's an optimized action, so you get to do something stronger. So there's just it's this game is just so fucking awesome, and I'm glad that they supported it, and they've put brass mags out for the captains now that are in the second Kickstarter, so the captains will have their own special looking brass mags instead of just being the basic ones.
Those mags really kind of bring out the game.
This game is outstanding. So awesome. That's my number one.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, those are our top 10 games of 2022. A phenomenal year overall. Like really, really good games. So many options to choose from with these. There might be one game there were some games that I'm probably going to throw into 2023. You might have noticed, like Frosthaven wasn't on either of ours.
Yeah, me too.
You got your copy, but haven't played it. I haven't got my copy. So so there's a lot of games like that are just either they're going to be, they're partially delivered this year, but will majoritively be coming out next year. So maybe it'll be on there. But yeah, let us know what your favorite games of 2022 were in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.